Welcome to another video from Demystifying Proposals. Our mission is to break down the proposal process and make proposals make sense. In this video, we'll talk about Pink Team management and show you a step-by-step process of how to make your proposal reviews effective. In this section, we're going to talk about preparations for Pink Team. When it comes to content expectations for Pink Team, your Pink Team is your first draft, and as it is your first draft, it should be about 80% complete. Note that different companies set this level differently, so use whatever your company uses. But generally speaking, about an 80% complete document is what you're looking for at Pink Team. The purpose of the Pink Team is to lock in your technical solution, your top level outline, your win themes, key personnel, and past performance. The review team should thoroughly critique the draft with sufficient guidance for the writers to complete the next draft of the proposal for Red Team. The documents reviewed are all technical volumes and appendices, and the Pink Team generally occurs about a week after the final RFP comes out or your company makes the bid decision to go forward with the proposal. The Pink Team draft should not have any blank sections. Even if a section contains only a detailed description of what will go there, it doesn't have to be 100% complete prose, but there should be enough of a skeleton of what you're going to be putting in that section for the reviewers to be able to get a sense of where you're going with your Pink Team draft. We try to reuse the same reviewers for Pink Team and Red Team. This is so they get familiar with the proposal strategy, but also so they get a chance to see and measure the progress on the proposal sections, particularly how their comments at Pink Team may have been integrated into the Red Team draft. Reviewers should understand the solution well enough to provide an effective review. Reviewers should also be managers who can evaluate the efficacy of the management section or volume. You need to assign at least 3 reviewers for each section. So if you're breaking up your technical approach and your management approach and your past performance volumes into different sections for review, because they're long enough that you can't have anybody reviewing all of them, they just wouldn't have time. You need to make sure you have at least 3 reviewers for each of the sections that you're putting out for review. Roles in the organization for reviewers. Generally speaking, your core reviewers are your capture team, SMEs who are not authors, an adjacent business lead who can do that efficacy of the management section, the proposal operations director or manager, and if your company has one, a chief growth officer. Alternate or additional reviewers might include key subcontractors, but make sure that you have a teaming agreement in place with them to protect your intellectual property. Other business leads might also be included as alternate reviewers if they have enough familiarity with the solution and or the management approach to be effective. In terms of time for the review, reviewers should have at least 8 hours to review the content, longer if they have more content to review. Some general guidance on your Pink Team reviews include being sure to send out your invitations well in advance of when you need the reviewers, preferably shortly after the kickoff meeting. Be sure to invite enough reviewers so that no one reviewer has to review more than about 10 or 15 pages. And be sure to invite enough reviewers so that each section is reviewed by at least 3 people. Be sure to check with the reviewers that they have time to do the review. Don't assume that the acceptance of the invitation for the review means that they actually have the time. Be sure to check with them. And be sure to include the timeline for the review in the invitation. That is, the document will come out at this time, you'll have this much time to review, and comments are due by this time, and the review slide is due by this time. Some proposal managers schedule all their reviews at once, shortly after kickoff, using the proposal schedule as the guide. Others wait until each review has been conducted to schedule the next one. Either practice is fine. Best practice for color teams is to hold an in-brief. The in-brief is a chance for the reviewers to get up to speed on what the proposal is all about. Sometimes you don't have the time to do an in-brief meeting. In that case, you still want to prepare and send the in-brief with the invitations for the review. The in-brief deck includes inputs from the capture manager, such as the opportunity overview and the win strategy, and the solution architect, obviously, the solution. Generally, there are 3 sections to the in-brief. The proposal team members and assignments to give the reviewers context for who will be on the debrief, who will be listening to their comments. The capture of strategy and solution information to give the reviewers insights into the win themes, discriminators, and etc. that they should see during their review. And a decomposition of the RFP to explain how the proposal outline has been organized relative to sections L and M and C, especially if there's anything weird about the instructions and the evaluation criteria. Say there's an instruction that isn't in the evaluation criteria, or there's an evaluation criteria element that you had to add that's not in the instructions. So anything that you want the reviewers to be sure to understand. Assignments should also be in the deck, as well as in the email invitation to the in-brief and to the review itself. Be sure to provide instructions on how the review will be conducted, whether it's going to be virtual or in person or even a hybrid, how long the reviewers have to review, that is the deadline for the output submissions, which is both their comments in the document and any SWOT slides that you might include. Another best practice is to put review times on the reviewers' calendars. This is a reminder of the time that they have for the review, the start and the finish of the time that they have to actually do the review. This invitation is usually set to free so that it doesn't block the reviewers' calendars from other meetings they may have scheduled. But it's especially important if you're scheduling the review several days in advance and they may not remember, oh yeah, I have a pink team coming up. So having that calendar invitation may be very important for them. The next invitation that goes out for the pink team is the debrief invitation. You want to be sure to have a debrief slide for each section of the proposal for the reviewers to use. One for technical approach, one for management approach, past performance, resumes, etc. These debrief slides generally ask reviewers for a SWOT analysis. What's good about the content you've reviewed? What needs improvement? Suggestions for how to improve the content. And how would you rate the content in total? Generally, we use a color scale from red being not good at all, to yellow, to green, to blue being virtually perfect. Be sure to include the authors on the debrief so that they can hear the feedback firsthand. You want to coach your authors that they can ask questions, but not to challenge the reviewers. They're just there to ask questions so that they can do recovery, but not to question whether the reviewers' comments are appropriate or actionable. Now we're going to talk about pink team execution. Now that you've sent your pink team invitations, and so you know when your pink team is going to happen, you need to work with the authors on getting the documents ready for pink team. So work with the proposal team to ensure the documents are going to be ready for the review. You want to check your status at every daily stand-up, and you want to reiterate the deadlines for the drafts so that the proposal team knows exactly what the deadlines are for pink team. As the proposal manager, you want to review the drafts to ensure the content is pink team ready. If it's not, discuss with the author and determine what can be done to make the documents pink team ready. If it's not and the deadline is looming, then you may have to discuss with the capture manager delaying the pink team, or for pink team only, maybe not having those particular sections that the author's struggling with reviewed. You can't do that at red team, but at pink team, that's an option. Not necessarily a great option, but it's an option. If the section is also not ready and the author's really struggling to provide content, maybe you need to consider escalation to senior management so that they can help find somebody else who can do the content or otherwise encourage the author to do the work that needs to be done. Once the drafts have been released for Pink Team by the authors, the proposal manager or an editor should do a preliminary edit and format of the documents before posting for the Pink Team reviewers. This is so the reviewers are not distracted by poor grammar or bad formatting, but can concentrate on the proposal content. The next step is leading that in brief. So you want to use the in brief slides that you developed with the capture manager and the solution architect to lead that in brief. Be sure to remind the reviewers of the timeline for the review. The document will come out at this time, reviewers will have until this time to review, comments are due by this time, and the SWAT team is due by this time. Then you want to monitor the Pink Team inputs in SharePoint or whatever system you're using to make sure that they're actually reviewing, and that if they need help, you can check in with them and make sure that they're getting the help that they need to do the review. Also, make sure that they're working on their SWOT slide and remind them about it if they're not. The next step in the process is the Pink Team debrief. If needed, consolidate the reviewer's inline comments into the Word document. If you're using SharePoint or some other proposal system, that should happen automatically. But if you have offline reviewers like consultants or subs, you may need to merge their comments into the master document so that there's one document to be used for recovery. Rather than review each comment throughout the document, use the debrief slides as your guidance for the debrief. Generally speaking, you want to put the slides in the order based on the seniority of the reviewers. So any C-suite people like the chief growth officer generally debrief before the business lead. The business lead debriefs before adjacent business leads, and adjacent business leads debrief before other delivery personnel. Organize the slides by section so that all of the reviews for a particular section are conducted together and then followed by the next section of the proposal. So within each section, you organize the slides in the order of seniority, but you do a whole section of the proposal at one time. And then you want to lead the discussion to try and deconflict any suggestions with the entire reviewer team. So if one reviewer says one thing and another reviewer says another thing, try and take the opportunity in the review to have that discussion. If it takes too long, you may need to table that discussion for another time, but it does give you an opportunity to maybe deconflict any suggestions that may be different between the reviewers. Also, remind the authors that they can ask clarifying questions of the reviewers, but not to confront the reviewers about their points. The next step is Pink Team recovery. As the first step in the Pink Team recovery, the proposal manager should consolidate all the debrief slides for each section and post them to the SharePoint for the proposal. You also want to prepare the proposal documents for the next review. So authors should not be making updates in the Pink Team documents for the Red Team. You should create another set of documents that are called usually Red Team and put them in a directory that's different than the directory that was used for the Pink Team review. That way, the Pink Team documents that got reviewed remain as they were. You want to conduct a meeting with the authors on how the review went, including how you want to adjudicate the comments. Do you want them to resolve the comments? Do you want them to just reply to the comments as well as fixing whatever needs to be fixed? Or do you want them to delete the comment once they've made the changes that are required? All of these are acceptable. You can do it whichever way makes you happy, but you need to be offer that guidance to your proposal team. You want to schedule the next review and you want them to know when the next review is going to happen. So you need to make sure that they're aware of what the timeline is for the Red Team as part of your Pink Team recovery. You can do these things at the next stand-up, or if you need to have extensive discussions, maybe you do it as a separate meeting. It's entirely up to you and depends on how sophisticated your proposal team is and the extent of the comments and the changes that are required from Pink Team to Red Team. It also may be necessary to have one-on-one meetings with selected authors. That may be because the comments in that particular section are very significant, or they're a change in direction. Be sure to include the capture manager and the solution architect as appropriate in those discussions. And be sure the author doesn't feel attacked. All we're trying to do is get to a winning proposal. As Pink Team Recovery goes on, you want to make sure that you're working with the proposal team to ensure the documents are going to be ready for the next review. You want to check the status at the daily stand-ups. You want to reiterate the deadline for the drafts for the red team. You want to review the drafts. The proposal manager should actually review the drafts to ensure the content is going to be ready for red team. And again, if it's not, discuss with the author what can be done. And if it's not, and the deadline is looming, discuss with the capture manager whether you're going to need to delay the red team. If it's not, and the author is still struggling to provide content, like they don't have time or they don't understand what needs to be done, then you may need to talk to senior leadership and figure out a different path for Pink Team Recovery. We hope you enjoyed this video from Demystifying Proposals. Please comment and share.